a Scientologist member who's called an audit. He's going to try to measure your cosmic energies with this stuff, with this e-meter. And they said to the members, to the believers of the scientific church, that it really works. And now you can imagine what happened, that hundreds of people who had to pay fees to use this e-meter and had serious diseases, mental or physical diseases, and they were told by these churchmen that it really helps. You just have to believe it. A lot of complications occurred after that because they used supernaturalistic worldviews.
You're not answering the question.
In what way?
In the way that you are not answering the question. You are expounding on some completely different theme. The question was simple. Does a biologist do better or worse work if he's religious or not?
Okay.
And you're talking about Scientologists using...
Okay. All right, I think he got it. And I have an additional question regarding to other religions, compared to other religions. So please continue with the question, with the answering.
Okay. Actually, that was an answer. What I was going at. Of course you can be a scientist, and a good scientist, if you are a Christian. I gave you an example of Sir Isaac Newton. I gave you an example of Monsignor George Lemaitre, a very high eminence in the Catholic Church, quarreled with Einstein, and he was right. Of course it's possible. I can give you another example. A very successful evolutionist, Kenneth Miller from Brown University. He is a devout, believing Christian, but he's an evolutionist. He is a proponent of the naturalistic worldview, of course, and he has been very successful in many court cases against intelligent design, which, of course, is a religion cloaked as science. And they want to impose their anti-materialistic views upon, not just upon science, but upon schools and children. So that's the answer. Yes, you can be a good scientist if you are a Muslim or a Christian or whatever. But you can't have Christian science because that's a
contradiction in terms.
It's a contradiction in
some
terms.
people
exactly.
claim. Sub-question. What about other religions? Do you think that other worldviews equally implausible than the worldview of a theist? What about, for instance, pantheism or Hinduism, or certain Buddhist schools that can even be described as non-theistic? Are all religious worldviews invalid per se? If so, why and why not? But please be short.
Okay.
Because
yes, well, Sam Harris talks about, one of the new atheists, he talks about spirituality in the last couple of chapters of his book. Again, I have to say that at the beginning I said that there are some myths about new atheists, and this is one of them. It's not that we deny the importance of spirituality. We only deny the ontological reality of spiritual beliefs. Even if you take a pantheist is not criticized by any of the new atheists. Where have you seen the pantheist suicide bomber? I haven't. It's true. We're not attacking all religion. I said that before. However, it cannot be applied to science. Because even if you are a pantheist, you are still claiming something about this universe. You still have some propositions in order to be defined as a pantheist. So if you say that the universe is God, that all is God, you still have enormous work ahead of you to prove your statement. So again, you can be, of course, you can be a pantheist, and you can be an excellent, world-renowned scientist, but you have to leave your pantheism in your pantheistic corner and do science with your naturalistic corner.
Thank you. Mr. Gustavsson, what is the relationship between, in your opinion, between Christianity and other religions, especially non-theistic religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism? In what manner, if at all, are other religions related to the truth? And how would you comment the fact that some of the religions, especially some forms of Buddhism, are, with regard to their metaphysics, closer to naturalist worldview than theistic religions? I can repeat it because I read sometimes really fast. I'm sorry.
I think it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I would just like to begin with some comments on the wider discussion here. I'm constantly surprised by the new atheists and their lack of self-understanding. We heard here a claim that we atheists have no dogmas. I would just encourage you to look through one of those filming of this debate, and you could count numerous numbers of dogmas coming from that side. Now, the fact is, of course, that we all have dogmas. I have dogmas. Mr. Szabo has dogmas. Every human being has dogmas we believe. The question is not if we have dogmas or not, but if we are open to evaluate our dogmas, if we can argue for our dogmas, if we're open to change our dogmas, and that I think we should be. And I hope I am open to change my dogmas if there are good reasons to change them. I have changed opinion, changed my dogmas, because I found out I had not thought about that matter enough. So I think we should all acknowledge that we have a burden of proof, that we all have dogmas. Secondly, I think here is, or let me say, put it this, one of the things that philosophy really can help us with is to help us to make valid distinctions. That is one of the tools of philosophy, help us to sort up different questions. I think the discussion on science here is not very helpful, because here is not a distinction between naturalism as a method and naturalism as a worldview. But that is two different things. We can all agree that in science you are looking for natural causes to natural effects. But that is not the same as to agree to there is no God. Naturalism as a method in science, that we are looking for natural causes, I think we can agree on that. On naturalism as a worldview, I do not agree. Then, coming to the question on religions, I actually have a wider scope in my critique of religions than Mr. Szabo. I am highly critical towards pantheism, for example, which I think is a very destructive worldview, which does not make any distinctions between the creation and the creator. And ultimately no distinctions between you and me, or between the human being and the rest of the world, since pantheism is monistic and saying everything is one, and that destroys all human life. Nearly all pantheistic systems also is built on the doctrine of karma. I find that as the most horrible doctrine in human thought, that everyone has the life he deserves. So the sick, it's right he or she is sick, or the poor, it's right he or she is poor, because it's the outworking of their bad deeds in the previous life. I find it horrendous. So I'm highly critical towards pantheism, towards different versions of Hinduism, and so on. Of course, it's interesting that Buddhism, in its original version, is very close to atheism. It uses different languages, but ultimately there's a lot of references. So that's just an interesting observation, both in the East and in the West. One main option to understand this world is to say it should be understood without reference to a person. Buddhism says that, atheism says that. The other main option is to say the universe should be understood in reference to a personal God. Now, I'm highly critical towards many trends within Islam, for example. We share the belief that there is a personal God, but we then depart on many other issues, especially on the issue of what within Christianity is called the issue of state and church. Namely, that they want to often want to form societies which are ruled from a religious ideology. I don't agree on that. I think there should be a separation